is Brandy Hargrove, and this is my third grade literacy center themed Out of This World Vocabulary. I decided to integrate science into this center because sometimes with the focus on reading, the science time can get cut a little short. So this way they can do science and ELA at the same time. My groups are heterogeneously grouped, which means there's one high, two middle, and one low. And these are Velcroed on so they can easily be moved around from group to group, or the groups can be changed if needed. As you can see, we have a moon group, a rocket ship group, an astronaut group, a planet group, and a star group. And these correspond with the baskets that they will pick up with their materials. So this way students can easily see which group they're in and what materials they need for the day. The vocabulary words for these centers come from the science standards from third grade and from previous grades so that it can be a review as well. The other ones come from the Moonshot, the Flight of Apollo 11 text, which is a third grade exemplar text. The first activity that we're going to talk about is the space concentration activity. This serves as a memory match game. Students will work as a group together for this activity. So they have some cards with astronauts and some have rocket ships. And the object is to match the spaceships and the astronauts together. So for example, this one says outer planets and this one names the outer planets. So this would be a match. So the player whose birthday is next, they will start the game. The play will continue to the right of them. On their turn, they will flip over two cards, and if they match, they will get to keep that match and play again. If they do not match, they will flip the cards back over and try on their next turn, and the person next to them will have their turn. So the peer check is the assessment for this activity. The next activity is the board game. So this board game features cards that will be placed upside down right here. And the player whose first name comes first in the alphabet will go first. I also have the game piece movers that will serve as what they move on their turn from space to space. And there is also a die in here. And I put it in here so that they can easily roll it around and see what they roll without the risk of the dice or die going flying across the room. So the first player will pick up a card. Of course, it'll be upside down. They'll flip it over. They will roll the die to see what number they get, and they will flip the paper clip to see what their action is. So if it landed on acted out, the player would act out the word comet. And their group members would use the reference sheet as well as their knowledge to decide whether or not they effectively acted out comet. If they did the action correctly, they will get to move the number of spaces that they rolled with the die. If they did not do it correctly, they will get to try again on their next turn. The first player to reach the finish space wins the game, and they will get to choose from a space-themed pencil or eraser. And the peer check is the assessment for this as well. And there is also a Spanish version for that accommodation. And the good thing about that is the acted out reaches the kinesthetic learners, the draw it reaches the visual learners, and the state a sentence or a definition or write it on the whiteboard reaches the auditory learners. So then the next activity is like a scoop game, except they don't move around from desk to desk, they do it in their group. So they will do this together collaboratively as a group, and they will fill out one answer sheet. So for this one, they will read the few sentences and decide which answer choice or which vocabulary word fits this question for the example, and they will put it in the corresponding number blank. So this will serve as their assessment. The next activity is the roll-a-word activity, and this will be done in pairs. So there will be a pair of a high medium and a pair of a medium low. So they will pick up this sheet, and it has some vocabulary words listed on the left side. The groups will roll the die, and say it lands on a 2. They will come over here and it tells them what action to do. So number 2 says write a synonym and antonym. They will use their Chromebooks with the Merriam-Webster Dictionary and Thesaurus web pages to help them with the definition and the synonym and antonym. So they will do that in this blank to the right. They will turn this in as their assessment. So each group should turn in 2, 1 per pair. And on the website, there are also audio features to help read the words or the definitions to help them if they need that accommodation. And the last activity we're going to talk about is the Moonshot Flight of Apollo 11 Vocabulary Review activity. So these all come from this book right here. And this will be assigned through their Google Classroom with Google Slides. And it's an interactive slide that they will turn in for their assessment. So for the first slide, there are 10 sentences with blanks. And they will use their context clues to determine which vocabulary word is the appropriate one for the sentence. So they will drag and drop the correct word to the blank. And then the second slide, they will match the definition to the vocabulary word. So they will use these letters right here to the side to correspond with these definitions and drag and drop in the blank to serve as their answer sheet. And they will turn that in through their Google Classroom. And on the slides on their Chromebooks, there will be an audio option where it will read everything to them if they need that. They will also be able to reference the Moonshot book if they need that also. And then for the early finishers, we have a vocabulary word search where it will give them the definitions and they will have to try to figure out the word and find it in the word search. And they have a word bank if they need that, and also hints are available if they need that as well. As you can see, it keeps up with their time, so they can make a goal to beat it in a certain time or beat their last time if they choose to do so. There's also audio available on here. If you click it, it will read the definition, and once you find the word, it will read the word to you. And there's also a variety of books down here that they can choose to read. There are different grade levels and genres. And then for the flexible reading spot, we have the Space Pod that they can get a book and a flashlight and go in and read if they choose. So I have this notebook that I've made for the center as well. It has a table of contents in the front, and then a handout that lists everything about the activities, describes them. It lists the assessments, differentiations, and the standards they target. Here are the literacy standards and the cross-curricular standards for science, the vocabulary words, and the Tennessee academic vocabulary for both ELA and science. And I also made a materials list for each activity and included all of the books in the book bucket for the early finishers. And I also have a copy of the Roll a Word answer sheet and an answer sheet copy for the Scoop game. And there's also an answer key for that as well. Thank you.